So, okay, you guys, pastoral team, we are going to be talking about this is the first of two. We're only doing two. This is a little series, a little mini series. This is going to be about the digital world, how we handle social media, screen time, just the digital world, and how our faith or our desire to follow Jesus should inform and affect the boundaries that we put around those things, those things that are in many ways they're tools. They're just tools. They could be used for positive, in positive ways. They could be used against us. They can be distractions. When I think about this topic, when I think about the digital world, when I think about social media and the need for boundaries, I think of Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, where it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up." Let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that trips us up. So especially the sin, there's sin, that's for sure, but there's also just weight that slows us down. And I think oftentimes these devices, our phones and social media and even the news, stuff like that, can just slow us down from following after Jesus, from growing, from becoming, conforming more and more into the image of Christ. They can slow us down from loving other people, loving God well. This was a conversation that came up a few times, but most recently Jeff did a devotional for our pastoral team where we were discussing some of the obstacles that get in the way of us meeting our potential. And a lot of people mention things like, I run to my phone first thing in the morning, or I spend too much time watching YouTube videos. Some of us had seen the documentary Social Dilemma on Netflix, which is a really sobering documentary. So we just thought, this could be a good discussion eventually. And I thought, man, let's start with the pastoral team. So part one is the pastoral team, and then part two is going to be Tom Sargent interviewing parents in our church and how they navigate it for their children. So part one is pastoral team talking about just as individuals, and then part two, parents for their children. So to that end, let's pray. Jesus, I pray that this is not a waste of time for the people on this, and also the people who watch this, that this is actually helpful in our relationship with you, that it actually is helpful for the mission that you've given us to make disciples, that we would use these devices of ours as tools to do that, to advance your kingdom, to be a blessing to people, to love you and to love others, instead of being a distraction, instead of being traps, instead of being idols. Lord, we know that that's what should be what is happening in our lives, but the practicalities of how to do that, how to navigate it, is a little more tricky, because we all need to draw the lines differently. We all need to put up different boundaries. We all need to find out what works for our own hearts and souls. And so I just pray that one thing would resonate with each person who watches this. It's in your name. Amen. All right, y'all. Let's jump into it. I'm going to read the question that I texted you. How has the digital world or social media or screen time robbed you of joy, or been an obstacle to your walk with Jesus, your mission for Jesus, or your relationships with other people?
Well, I've found it, particularly since the beginning of COVID, because I'm under more of a lockdown pressure with the people I'm living with, from sensitivity to possibly getting it, that I'm home a lot more. And I use the internet for work and pleasure, but it now seems to be sort of my default go-to when I don't necessarily have something else specific to do. It's
so, Jay, if you don't mind me kind of pressing a little bit, what is it? The stuff that falls under the category of a waste of time. What is it that is enticing to you? Like, what kind of stuff are you drawn towards? Is it social media? Are you looking up like how to fix a car? What are the kind of types of things that you get caught up in?
Three places, because I was going to talk about this later. I downloaded a free web tracker, which is one of the ways I'm trying to deal with this issue. But that's helped me to see where I spend my time the most are three locations. LinkedIn, which I use for more for business purposes. Facebook, which I use for more social, but also some business purposes. And my email. It's like I bounce between the three because, you know, I'll look at one thing and then something will flag on the other site. You know, like maybe I'm on LinkedIn and something will flag on, I have all three open at once, right? Something will flag on the others. And you can literally like go round and round and always have something new to look at, you know? So those are the three big ones. You know, there are others that I'm on, but nothing to the degree of the three.
Yeah.
Facebook, LinkedIn, and email.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well,
Okay, so, go ahead, Justin.
nope, you go ahead.
Well, I guess for me, it's fighting against what I'm doing like early in the morning, because I really enjoy getting up early. 5 o'clock. I love the morning time to just spend reading, doing my devotional, and I found that I was bringing my phone, you know, from the dining room into the living room and just putting it next to my Bible and whatever else I had there. And over time, it's like I'd be reading the Bible and then this random thought would go through my mind and I would just like look at my phone and see, oh, wow, I have X amount of text messages or emails and it just kept weaving into my time in the morning. And for me, I saw it as the enemy just trying to distract me and finding where I'm the weakest, you know, is having that like right next to me. So I've tried now to keep it in the other room until I'm done with my devotionals. And I even sometimes I still think I'm like, oh, but if I had my phone, I could just look up that scripture because there's like a scripture I don't know where to find it. But I've just been really trying to do that more and more because with the political things going on and the COVID, it's just like all those things stirring in my head that if I don't keep my phone away from me, I can find myself being drawn to it. And then my time with the Lord is definitely being affected.
So what do you do if something pops in your mind, like I don't know, like writing something down to do? Do you just kind of?
Well, I have my journal next to me. So sometimes if it's like, oh, wow, I have to do this today, or I forgot I need to reach out to this person, I'll just jot something down real quick and take a sip of coffee and then try to redirect my attention back to reading and where I was. Yeah.
But who else has seen things rob them? April, would love to hear about your YouTube extravaganza stuff.
Well, it actually started with Facebook, and probably close to a year ago. I had deleted my Facebook accounts, deactivated and deleted it off my phone because it was being distraction. It was a big distraction. And for the same reason as the movie you had talked about, Social Dilemma, I started seeing like those patterns as different things were happening. And I was like, no, okay, it's time to get rid of this.
Meaning what, for people who haven't seen that thing?
That's, you search one thing, having conversations, and those advertisements were showing up in my newsfeed on Facebook. So it was just like all kinds of crazy things that were happening. So I had gotten rid of that, but then YouTube, which was a resource for me for music and messages or podcasts, had all of a sudden just totally taken over, where I was constantly on YouTube, constantly, and it wasn't even music anymore, and it wasn't worthy stuff that I was watching. It was like a lot of nonsense stuff. It was a lot of my personal opinion propaganda stuff, and getting caught up in all of that. And then it kind of overflowed into the morning time. Like Pam, I'm a morning person. I get up early in the morning. It's coffee and Jesus for me in the morning. And It's like, well, you know what? Let me flip through YouTube while I'm drinking my coffee, and then the next thing I know, I was on there so long. It's time for me to get dressed and get ready for the day. So YouTube was a big distraction for me.
Hmm. So what did you do about it?
I fasted from YouTube completely for 2 weeks. I disabled it and took it off the home screen of my phone. And after the 2 weeks, I just keep it off my home screen, and I only use it, if more carefully I use it, more so for worthy podcasts, worthy messages, pastors and stuff.
Hmm. So fasting from it for 2 weeks helped you to reapproach it with like more discernment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It was almost like a detox.
Yeah. Like a reset.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Jeff, I remember you talking, you saying something about,
What'd I say?
we were having a discussion of just about how heated things were getting politically with people, and you had said something about how you just can't you can't go on social media anymore. Like you stopped because you realized that these aren't your battles, or something like that, something to that effect. Like you've got to pick, you've got a battle, you've got a mission, and this is not it. Something like that.
Yeah, right. Shadow mission. Yeah, my shadow mission is getting everyone I know to believe the way I believe, right? And then I have my real mission. And so, I think in March, kind of towards the end of March is when I realized.
Sorry to cut you off real quick. Shadow mission. Some people aren't familiar with even that term. Can you kind of just elaborate on what that means? What do you mean by shadow mission?
Yeah, by shadow mission, I mean something that you can feel passionate about and invest in, but it's moving in the wrong direction. It's kind of like a counterfeit. God calls you to do A and you're wasting time doing B.
So you're saying shadow mission that you were tempted with is get everybody to believe what I believe.
Yeah, I was feeling the temptation to do it with mostly close friends and family members. Right, because those are the people we interact with most. Those are the people we care about, how they think about us, how they view us, all those things. So, I was making that too important, and I think being on social media for me in March, I was just getting angry. I wasn't spending a lot of time on social media, but even if it was 15 minutes, the impact, the anger and the frustration would linger throughout the day, right? So it wasn't the actual time on social media. It was the residue of, just reading something that ticked me off or reading something that I felt grossly misrepresented, whatever. And I would want to fix it. I'd want to find the perfect post or the perfect video that helped the people watching this, who saw this video, straighten them all out, kind of thing. So that's like a shadow mission, right? It's in a weird way, you're kind of serving people and you're wanting to help and you're wanting to do something that you feel is beneficial or helpful or productive, but it's not. So I mean, at the end of the day, I can only control me and what I do today toward what I feel most passionate about. Yeah. So I turned it off. Yeah, I did kind of an extended version of what April did. I just turned it off.
Anything else?
It has been a process, like in just thinking about it, like over the last few years, definitely being someone that had, all the social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Snapchat, now there's all these new ones. I'm thinking kind of hindsight here. When I did have those things, as far as like stealing my joy, there was always this comparison thing going on. So if I was spending time scrolling or looking back at, old friendships or relationships, being able to peer into the lives of others with just like really just a touch of a button, it was causing me to, I don't know, not appreciate my own life, my own hand that I had been dealt, and in comparison a lot. So fast forward to now, I don't have, I think, any social media. My wife and I, we have a joint Facebook. when we got married, that was like something that we wanted to keep together. We have it joint, just because we think that along with the things that have already been mentioned with social media, there's also a natural tendency for people to behave dishonestly and sneakily through social media, through inboxing. So we wanted to honor God with our Facebook and you know, showing our oneness in marriage, and the reason for us keeping Facebook so that we could be in touch with family. That's all spread out. But I notice even with still having Facebook, there's times when like I'll be working on the computer and I'm just feeling a little burnt, or I want some like fluff, and I'll go to Facebook. I'll just start scrolling for a little bit with like no intent, but other than to scroll to like burn away that margin that I'm looking for. I'm desiring margin rather than going for a walk with God. I'm gonna scroll for, even if it's 5 minutes, and it may seem insignificant, but I notice that for me it creates like even if it's a momentary numbness, that long term is not good. It almost like lowers my defenses and my guard. I'll go there. It's super uncomfortable. I'm a young guy. Even the provocativeness on the internet and what's able to be seen on there and where that'll take my mind. I need to be super careful about that. So one of the things that I've done too, as I've heard mentioned, is I've had to eliminate things in my home. I've had to eliminate things. Like I said, I don't have a lot of social media anymore. I think Facebook's the only one that I have, along with my wife. She has some other ones. But I need to like literally take things away from me because I lack discipline in certain areas of life. The YouTube, that's another one for me. I could just be watching like people playing pickup basketball and get a thrill out of that. I love athletics. I love seeing whatever I want on YouTube. I could get in that YouTube black hole for a while, and it's unproductive, and I come out of that and I'm groggy and I'm like, just lost time.
Yeah.
And then the shame sets in and the regret.
One of the questions that I've gotten into the habit of asking myself, if I go to YouTube to watch an educational video, and like April said, right, start to go down that rabbit hole, the bottomless pit of distraction, I'll stop if I have the presence of mind and ask myself, what pain am I avoiding? Is it a conversation? Is it a phone call that's uncomfortable? Is it sitting down and writing my second book, which is, you know, the creative process, as many of you know, can be very painful, meaning like it's so much mental energy and kind of anguish to create something, you know, and it's very time intensive. So that's been another little help for me. I'll stop and say, okay, wait a second. I got on YouTube to do A, now I'm doing B. What am I avoiding? Is there a pain I'm trying to avoid? Is there a commitment? Is there a, you know, whatever the case may be? So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm kind of all over the place, but.
No, that's good. That's good.
For me, I think it's mostly how it's affected me is relationally. I have Instagram, but I don't use it. I have Facebook. For me, it's really like a relaxing, like my day is pretty busy. I have Gabe and I work. So for me, it's usually like a tool that I would use to like just chill, like Justin said, to scroll. But I definitely, for you like out there, like moms, it really, since Gabe has really been like a wake-up call. It's like, you know, Gabe keeps me really busy, but there's times when even he gets a little bit tired and we're like, let's just chill. And so I had noticed, like, in those like moments when he's having lunch or something, downtime, I would just like get on my Facebook and scroll. And then I just started thinking about it and I was like, wow, like, yeah, Gabe's just eating lunch, but I'm absent during that time if I'm just scrolling on my Facebook. So that's really where I had been like really convicted a lot. And then even, you know, every once in a while, like at night after dinner, Gabe has about 20 minutes of his iPod time where he gets to do drawing and things that he does on his iPod. And Rigo and I had noticed that we'd all be in the living room and Gabe would be on his iPod and we would be just Rigo would usually be on like listening to a message or something, and I would just be scrolling just like to shut off my brain. And I was like, okay, this is also not healthy. Like, we're all in the same room. We're not even paying attention to each other. This would be a great time for Rigo and I to connect because, he's been at work or I've been at work or both. So yeah, we really try to be really conscious of that. A couple nights ago, we were just all, I guess it was right after Thanksgiving, we were all exhausted, and we just, all of us again, were doing that again. And we were like, okay, let's put on a movie at least and watch a movie together. Because sometimes you need brainless time. But I think kind of like, I don't know if Justin mentioned it or somebody mentioned it, it's, even if you're just scrolling, there's stuff that you're seeing that's getting in there. I'll like be just scrolling and not really even realize it. And then later on, I'll find myself thinking about like, did you see what that person posted? Like, or like, I'm worried about this person or, and so I think it's just readjusting like why I use it. We use it a lot for family connection. I see pictures of my little niece on there. So if I'm going on there now, I'm trying to be super intentional about why I'm going on there. So I think especially when you're a mom at home with kids, it's like really can affect you relationally with your kids.
Yeah.
Because, you definitely need downtime, but it's definitely not a great downtime thing for me anyway.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to all of it. Currently, I used to, the first thing I would do when I woke up, sometimes even in the middle of the night, I would grab my phone, start either looking at emails or going on Facebook or checking text messages. And it has for sure given me like a sense of unrest. There's so many things going on a regular basis, and even important things, important things that we do need to know about so that we can be praying for people and stuff like that. But it has for sure caused me stress, anxiety, and the first thing I do, waking up, looking at craziness on Facebook, then it does also affect relationships, because sometimes you're like, like you're just like, I kind of would rather not know what people are posting a lot of times, and I would rather have like this pure relationship with people that I don't know every detail of what they think when they sometimes feel like they need to post everything.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it does help. Currently I just don't pick up my phone when I wake up. I spend at least an hour, whatever time I get up, at least an hour, if not more, just praying, reading the word, journaling, and then that does put me in a completely different place for the day. So then, of course, whatever does come, I absolutely handle much differently when I start my day like that compared to when I start my day scrolling.
Yeah.
Does anybody else feel like, I don't know, Jess, I don't know if you, I know you probably get a ton of emails and calls and stuff. Like for me, sometimes I feel guilty. Like another thing is like, I try not to have my phone on me at all, like during the day, especially with, I really can't a lot of times with Gabe now. And then at work, but not like guilt, but like people will text me or email me and I feel bad because I haven't emailed back or texted back, or sometimes I'll even miss a text. But yeah, so like, I think it's hard too, because like I'll get texts and like emails or something all day, whether it be work or friends or something. And it's like, there's been a thing where I've just had to say, like, I just don't have my phone on me. And it's because we're connected 24/7 too. That's the other part of it, not necessarily social media, but like people kind of expect me to be like, have my phone or my email on me all the time, which is also like, I feel like that's a struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jess, I feel like
I agree. I agree completely. And I used to allow that to totally
Stress you
control
out.
what I did. And I would feel like, oh my gosh, they're mad. You know, they're mad because I didn't respond right away. Or, and then it's like, but like, it instantly takes me into a place of anxiety. And like Jeff pointed out earlier, it's like, I have control of what I choose to do and when I choose to respond. And it's like, when you make it clear to people that we're not, like, I'm sorry, I'm not available all the time. I am, you know, I do take time and just focus on work or just focus on family and don't want those interruptions. And when we clearly communicate those things to people, then they're, oh, totally, I understand. But it's like, it takes that communication and like sometimes multiple times for them to actually get it. Like, oh, I know you weren't ignoring me, because sometimes that's the go-to is like, if I don't get an instant response, because everything in culture today is like instantaneous, you're rejecting me. But it's like, it's not rejection. I know April actually is the one that takes the longest to respond to text, and it's been changing, which is so cool. But like she's in the past taken like a whole day. And
A whole
like,
day.
I mean,
Oh
but
my
it's
gosh.
not urgent. It's not
Good Lord.
urgent stuff. So for me, I'm like, at first I would be like, huh, he's ignoring me, you know. But then it just became like, I know that April doesn't have her phone on her all the time. She's not looking at it. She's going to get back to me in the right time. You know, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I battled that for a while, and then I turned off my text notifications. I haven't had them on in like 6 months. I don't even get a ding. Like I don't need, I choose different times of the day to check my texts, and I'll go through them, and if there's times of the day when I know somebody might be more likely, like a Sunday morning, you know, I know that, okay, there's going to be more busyness. Jeff might be reaching out about something.
Always Jeff, always.
Or if there's if I'm in a conversation, right, I see a text from April, I write her back. I'm expecting, we're back and forth a little bit, I'll have the conversation and then I'll stop for a while. At least I try to, because you can get caught up in every single conversation, and then it's, and I remember years ago, Jeff, sitting in a Starbucks with him. I was working and he was going through text from the last 3 days, responding to people. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, responding to text from the last 3 days. And that got lodged in my head, like, huh, you can do that, huh? Like this was probably 10 years ago, but so now 10 years later, I actually started doing that, where I'll write on my to-do list, go through texts, like that'll be something I do, go through text and respond to them. So, cause I don't want to miss anybody. I don't want people to feel like, it got lost in space and your thing didn't matter, because I know this crap that can get in people's heads. But it's not going to be right away. It'll be like I do with emails, Hey, I'll try to respond within 24 hours. If it's a weekend, it's probably going to be slower. I had to choose to be better with email than text. And I try to tell people that, hey, sorry, I'm better with emails than I am with text. Sometimes even, can you email me, a couple dates when you want to get together, instead of texting me those dates, email me. Like I try to keep my email to a certain amount. Like it's just easier for me to organize, but you can't be organized with every single device, with every single platform. And, I don't know. I had to choose to be better with one than the other, because it's and then where my mind is weak. I don't know if it's OCD or what, but I'll get caught up thinking about a conversation and like, okay, how am I going to respond to that? And one thing can throw off like my brain, where until I respond, it's just swimming around, or at least until I put some notes down. And So like, our family Sabbath thing on Saturday, like I don't check emails at all. That definitely helps. I'm almost afraid to. Sometimes I have to search for something on my email, like our password to, I'm paying bills, and I got to look up a password, and I'm like, you know what I'll do? This sounds really. This is my OCD. You know, I'll pull up my email and I'll cross my eyes so that the whole thing's
Stop.
blurry, so I can't even
Wow.
see. And I'll just go to the search bar and type in, capital one password
Oh my god.
until it pops up. So I don't even see. Because if I see something,
Oh,
I'm like, that person might be waiting. Let me just get back to them real quick. And then I see something else, and it's like, how dare you talk about da da da? And it's like, oh, I got to respond to that one.
the eye cross. That is next level,
The
man.
eye cross.
That is some James Bond stuff. Hey, just so you know, so you can be thinking ahead, your strategy to turn off text notifications will end when your girls are teenagers. I promise.
Yes.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I know, and that's why we're all talking. It's different seasons, different strokes for different folks. I know my limitations right now, and reading things in the middle of the night, had to stop doing that if I'm up. Like that's just because the chance you get something that's like, okay, here's a conflict to resolve. I go into resolve it mode, and I just, okay, these are the 10 things we're gonna have to do. I just start to go into fix it mode, and it's like that just doesn't physically ain't gonna help me get back to sleep. That's for sure.
Could I talk about a few of the things that I've done to try to actually pull back? Because I know that's been incorporated into what everybody's been saying, but I actually have
man, let's hear it.
like a list. I mean, the first one you mentioned, your Sabbath, yours is on Saturday. I do mine on Sunday. And for last, I don't know, at least 12 years, I don't go on the net at all on Sunday from when I wake up to when I go to bed, with the exception of if I'm on in the morning for service related thing. So one day a week, I am just not on any kind of internet of any kind, period. I also downloaded, I mentioned earlier, I downloaded this free net time tracker. It's called Time Your Web. And it actually shows you how much time you're on, how much time you're active, what sites you're going to most often. And that's helped me to really get a feel for how much time I am spending and, what day it's too much in my mind, what day it's not, to kind of figure out what a good period of time should be at maximum, even if it's work related online. Avoiding politics, we've all mentioned, I think. I want to avoid it almost entirely, especially on Facebook. I'd rather, if I'm going to post on Facebook now, I'd rather post something that's like maybe evangelistic in nature, maybe subtly evangelistic, if you want to be hitting people over the head with stuff. But I've been trying lately to get away from politics in general and on social media in particular. And then the last thing is just being more quote unquote religious about the spiritual disciplines that I do each day. Especially starting the day, as others have said, with devotions, not with social media.
Cool.
So three things I've been doing lately.
Cool. Anybody else have any things that have been helpful that you've found? Particularly, a few people mentioned just starting the day. How important is how you start the day for your brain and your soul? What do you do on a good day when you start the day right? What is that? And don't go through 19 different things, but just what's one or two things that I do this every morning.
As soon as I wake up, the moment I open my eyes, I pray. I have to do it the moment I open my eyes. So I'm literally just laying in bed and I pray. Because not that it's so much of a temptation, but I do have my phone next to me at night because we still have a sound monitor for Gabe. So it could be a temptation for me to just pick up my phone and check my texts if anybody texted me or emailed me. So I literally just don't even get up before I pray. So I do that the first thing. And then and then I'll spend time on a 15-minute devotional. And that's super important. If I don't do those things, I feel bad for Gabe because I'm just moody and I'm just like, and I hate mornings. I'm not a morning person. I'm a horrible morning person. So if I don't get that time with him, I'm just like, this stinks. I have to get up and,
And so you'll do all that in bed?
Yes, in bed. I don't even get out of my bed.
So no coffee first?
No, I don't drink coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Totally does.
I go directly to a Bible reading when I get up as well. I must confess, I occasionally do check to see if I've got a text or something in GroupMe that's important. Usually, in terms of, especially if it's from Chris, I have to know right away if it's from Chris. But seriously, but normally I just go straight to the Bible. And in fact, I think after today, I'm going to make absolutely sure I don't even check anything on the phone first. I'm just going to go straight to Scripture. But that's what I do. I start the day that way.
We all have different wirings, and some of us are going to have a natural bent to just be better day starters and to be more consistent in disciplines. And one of the things that I found in years past when I tried to have like strong morning disciplines or even good evening disciplines too, which are, I would say, also important. If I would fall or stumble out of a rhythm, there was like such shame that would come for me personally, like, oh, I'm not doing. And I think that it could counteract what we're aiming for with like the whole point of asking the question, like, well, what are you starting your day like? Yeah. So I think for me, I've learned over the years to be very giving to myself. So that doesn't mean that I can wake up, hit the ground running and not think twice about, spending time with God. But personally, my rhythms look very different. Yeah. And there's a multitude of things that I'll pull from, whether it's reading. One of the things that I've been doing, particularly in this season, after I get Avery off to school on the days that he goes to school, is I'll just sit with God. So I won't have the structure of journaling or necessarily reading something. But for me, like if I'm feeling like, oh, I need to do something because I feel like my natural wiring is to do, like is to just sit for like 5-10 minutes. Like it doesn't have to be this long, super long duration. And like, I'm going to be present right here. I'm not going to get off running over here. I'm not going to, with a list of things to do, I'm going to be intentional about sitting down on the couch, coffee, no coffee, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to do that, and it'll help me to slow down because, again, I have a wiring, me personally, where I will just go and I will not think about stopping. And it's really relative to the morning. It's hurt me because in the past I've hit the ground running, and it's like, if you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day, that'll be life for me for a little bit, and it'll be go, and I hit burnout, and it was not a good place for me. So in those rhythms, I've learned to extend grace to myself because I've gone so far to the other extreme where it's like, I didn't do my devotional this morning, and I'm a bad Christian.
Yeah, that's a good distinction to bring up because it's the last thing I would want as the pastor of True Life is for somebody to walk away going, well, I guess I have to do what Mandy's doing, otherwise I'm not a good Christian. Like that doesn't stir our affections and our love for Jesus. I've had to change up in my rhythm because it got too religious, it got too rote, it got too, and I right now, like some people say like I can't pray in bed or read their Bible and get because I'll fall asleep. Praise God if I fall asleep while I'm doing that. But I'm up in the middle of the night, so I'm like, you know what, Lord? If I fall asleep after I'm up for an hour praying and reading the Bible, like awesome. Like that's like me and Jesus resting together. Like that's some of the most restful times I have in Him. And sometimes I will go on the internet. I'll pull up Voice of the Martyrs website. I'll find a story and I'll start praying for that guy. I'll pull up some of the unreached people groups that look at a map and pray for that area and read about it and then pray for that. And so Yeah, so that's why I think it needs to be different for every person. And I'm jotting down a list of some of the things you guys are mentioning, and maybe do a quick little recap at the end. But I do think that's an important distinction, Justin. Thank you for bringing that up.
I agree. And it's so funny because those are two things. The two things that you said were things that I was going to share quickly too, is like having grace for myself, because I don't do it perfectly. I mean, there's like in a week, it's like sometimes I do it great for 3 days and don't do it great for the rest, and every week is so different, but it's like not beating yourself up. And when you do have like those consistent times of like, if it is like not good for 4 days, then maybe I need to change something, right? Like maybe it's just not working for me right now in this season, and what can I look at to change? That way you do have that excitement for it, right? And not comparing ourselves to other people. I mean, Pam has been discipling me for the last couple of years, and she's helped me so much. And in the beginning, I would say I was trying to like mimic what she was doing. And it's like, but I'm not her, and that's okay. It's actually great that we're all individuals, right? Like all different. But yeah, that's huge for me, because it does hold us back when we beat ourselves up, right? And compare, because you think that, I remember years ago like struggling to pray for 5 minutes, and then where God has brought me to where sometimes like when it's open-ended, I realized like, holy cow, like I've been like resting and talking with God for a long period of time, like half hour, 40 minutes, and it was freaking amazing. It's like being so thankful for those times too, because they don't happen all the time, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I do a version of what Mandy shared. I kind of wake up with some prayers and mantras, then I hydrate, and then I make my bed. It's important to start your day with a win. That's what the commander of the Allied forces in the Middle East, General Stanley McChrystal. That's and Jordan Peterson, doesn't he say the same thing? Make your bed. I think so. Yeah, I think that's one of his 12 rules of life. Start your day off with a small win where you feel productive and there's actually forward momentum. I journal right now, kind of like everybody already said here. I change it up, I like what Jess said, kind of based what's working. So right now I'm doing a gratitude journal every morning, writing down 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for. Sometimes they're big things, and sometimes they're what we would call small. I'll be sitting in my little chair looking out the window and the sun is out. I'm grateful that it's a sunny day, and sometimes they're much bigger things, relationships and people and opportunity. Then, for a couple of years, I do a 30-minute, very brisk kind of walk where I'm praying for people, really what I'm doing is setting my intention for the day. So I have a few songs that I listen to. I have some things that I'm reciting and repeating, just kind of setting my intention for the day. Yeah. I don't do any reading. I don't do any Bible time or anything like that in the morning. I tend to, I do what's called a digital sunset. So I do turn off all digital devices. I try to about 8 p.m. And I like to read in the evening. That really helps me wind down, because I'm like you. If I see something online that I want to fix or solve or complain about, I'll bring it into bed with me and then my mind's racing. So I really like to wind down at night with reading, whether it's, scripture or something else.
That's been a real problem for me actually at night, is that if I am online doing whatever late at night, then when I lie down to go to sleep, there's just a bunch of things running around my head. They say that you should pretty much cease from all activity that involves, mental engagement about an hour before you go to bed. And I'm terrible at doing that, frankly. I need to really make that an intentional thing more in my life.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
And I think it's cool how Jeff and Justin, you said it too, or when Justin was talking, it made me think about it. It's really like the intentionality of your heart, not about, Jess was saying, or Jess and Chris was saying, not make it a religious have to do thing, but really when I do my prayer time in the morning and the devotional, that's a quick, 20-minute thing. I'm a night person, so I do all my spending time, my quiet time with God, my real digging in at night, because I'm awake then. But yeah, it's really right, just about your intentionality in starting the day, not so much looking like everybody else, because everybody is so different. Like Shay was just saying, you're not so much a night person, you're not going to stay awake or whatever. I'm so awake at night, and that's my best. And I remember somebody saying one time, sorry,
Whoa,
to give God your best, figure out what your best is, when your best is, and give that time to the Lord. Don't think, okay, because everybody, I used to feel guilty because everybody I know was just I grew up in the church, and everybody's you got to start your day and do your time in the morning. And I'm I'm never going to be a morning person. I'm never going to be a daytime person. And then when that person said that, I went to a conference, and they're basically the whole session was about giving God, your best time. And I'm my best time is literally at 11:30, 12 at night. Everybody's quiet, and that's my best time. So I just think it's cool because everybody's intentionality is our intentions. Yeah. Yeah. I'm never I've said this before, I'm never going to apologize for not being a morning person, because I'm never going to be, but good. I think it's so cool because just whatever you do to just honor God with your time, that's the thing, being intentional with it is the thing that's so important.
Yeah. That's good.
Mandy, if you're not a morning person, why do you look the best out of all of us and have such beautiful hair?
Makeup.
I agree.
I'm not buying any of it, just so you know.
Okay, next time I'm coming on with no makeup on.
Let's turn a corner for the last 15 minutes. I want to hear, how do you use social media or screen time to build relationships with people in a positive way, right? We talk a lot about protecting ourselves from it like it's the devil, but how do you engage with it in positive ways that do build relationships?
I found that I've made friends all over the world that I would not have made otherwise. And Facebook definitely, in particular, has a social aspect for me. I met my wife on Facebook. After we both spent thousands of dollars on Christian dating services for years. We met for free. But, I have because I've been pretty active on Facebook, I'm not going to pretend I haven't been for about, 12 years now. I have a lot of friends. And I try to use that as, to some degree, a friendship evangelism thing. If you look on my Facebook page, you're going to see a lot of airplanes posted because I have a lot of friends that are into that kind of thing. But then again, I'm going to intermix with that some Christian quotes, or maybe something I wrote, or something that might, spark some interest in spiritual things. That way I feel like I'm both enjoying it, but I'm also using it as a tool for the kingdom, hopefully. And I want to increase that as time goes on.
Cool.
For me, the only thing that I can think of is if I do go on Facebook, which does happen a lot less than it used to, and I see somebody just share something that they could use prayer for, there's things that people go through that they post. So I'll typically take that and send a text to somebody. The only thing that I do, just because I've found that when I comment, it's just another thing that's like dinging and has that number next to it, like, you know, the emails, there's 35,000 emails that you haven't read. There's whatever, you know, sometimes 30 notifications that you haven't read. And if you comment or, you know, then you're getting the ding, you're getting the alert. So that overwhelms me personally. So I could probably do a better job at it. And I definitely would like to know how I could do a better job without letting it overwhelm me and take over.
It's good, Jess. That's good. That's honest. That's honest.
I'm reactivating my Facebook account right now because I've been spending thousands of dollars on Christian dating sites. That's a joke.
Don't do it. New Jersey Christian Connections for Singles Over 30. That's where I met my wife. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore.
See.
Kat was the only woman on it, and once
Just the two of us. Good thing that
once Shay got her, all the other guys were like, what's the point?
Oh, that's funny.
Brianna and I, we met online too. It was a Christian dating site. But I'm sitting here thinking, the question again was, how are we using social media in a positive way? How are we?
Or screen time. Like I watch the Wonder Years with Kayla and Sienna at night. Like that's a bonding time for us, and that's we have discussions about it, you know, about the show and the episode and what happened, and just it's a great conversation starter. We watch like half an episode, multiple, you know, probably 3 to 4 nights a week. So it could be screen time, it could be social media. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I try to remember as it relates to social media, primarily Facebook, again for us, because that's what we have, is like, just like out in the world, we're called to witness and have a witness. I think that is not only in person, but also because we have social media. I think that there's a huge platform there to have a Christian witness to the world. So like I was saying, like we're representing our oneness in marriage through our joint Facebook account. Clearly, I'm not going to necessarily always see seeds that are being planted in people's minds, but if they're friends with us, they're going to see something that's different, that's countercultural. It's going to cause them to wonder and to think. And so I would say that the reason I haven't pulled away altogether is because I do see it in some ways, particularly like this witnessing way, as necessary, and being within youth ministry too. Like if I want to be able to connect a lot of these younger generations and I stay away from social media altogether, well, I don't know that we would be as effective as we could be. So I'm quite honestly, I'm still navigating that and learning, and want to have conversations, but I just pray that the Lord would use me and whatever social media I do have right now, or we all have right now, to witness to other Christians, to an unbelieving world, because it's a platform. Everyone has a platform. What better way to tell people about Jesus and to live out our faith, and place for everyone.
That's good, man. A platform, influence. It's I think about the parable of the talents. Like we don't want to bury what we have an opportunity to use for God's kingdom. We don't want to just stick it in the ground. It's just figuring out how to utilize it.
You guys have all gotten videos from me. I'm just looking at the screen. So for me, YouTube is just, some of the best minds in the world are on YouTube now, whether it's nutrition or relationships or neuroscience and how our brains work and all that great stuff. So I do, for me, YouTube is kind of like going to school. I like to find videos that are really educational. I take notes, I share them with people. That's probably the main way I use screen time.
This past season, with the whole, especially with the social justice stuff, not to get into any of that stuff now, but I do find, like, outside of this season also, but for me, definitely like connect, like you said, you watch sometimes debates and stuff. being able to just be educated on other people that aren't in my sphere of influence. Like I certainly, you know, have tons of conversations with people around me and who I have access to, but there's so many valued, you know, people that I wouldn't be able to ever talk to or hear, you know, what they're going through or how they see things. And so for this season, it's been really, really good for me because I've been able to like broaden my horizons especially in that area. Like, you know, something that I'm super passionate about. And I kind of didn't know, like, I didn't really have a lot of people around me that I could really talk to about it. And so that kind of got me to be able to like, I was like, oh, okay. And of course I was discerning, you know, cause there's lots of stuff out there that, you know, you don't want to be listening to also. But I just think it's a really awesome tool for that reason, you know, like people in other countries or just from different cultural backgrounds has been really, really cool. And I think that's super important, you know, especially when we live in like a, you know, like really white brick, you know, or really, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're in a little bit of a fishbowl wherever we are sometimes. So it's really super cool to be able to do that. I think it's helped me a lot.
It's good. That's good.
I co-administer a group with a guy from Australia, and we've become friends. We've had conversations outside of Facebook by video. But to me, it's just wondrous that I can like have a real-time, you know, conversation, messaging on Facebook or whatever with somebody on the other side of the planet. I mean, to me, that's one of the cool aspects of this technology. You know, that it does allow you to get in touch with people from different cultures with different perspectives and yet see what we have in common as well, and also hopefully be a witness at the same time.
Like I'm listening to messages all the time, but I think kind of like, I think it was Jeff I was saying like how he shares a lot. And I think that's been a thing for me is sharing things, not just messages, but anything that would be beneficial for somebody or something I think somebody would be interested in. Sharing videos with them. And the same thing with you, Mandy, but it's different. Like music is like a big thing for me. I love music, all kinds of music. And I think finding my YouTube time is like listening to worship music from other places. And on my Spotify playlist now, I have like Celtic worship bands on there, you know, so that was kind of cool.
Well, cool, you guys. This has been good. Yeah, from how we start our day to website trackers to time blocking, fasting from something if you sense it has too much of a hold on you, not feeling guilty about doing what other people are doing. This is good stuff. Thank you for being willing to be part of this.
Yeah, so I just I was hearing words like avoidance throughout our conversation. I use the word, you know, kind of feeling numb sometimes with certain social media and scrolling. And anytime I think about like the social media conversation, I just feel like that sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes there's a bit of like a dis-ease, like a rest that maybe we're looking for. Oh, the other thing that was used before was break, looking for a break, especially those with children. And one of the things as it relates to how I've just, what I feel God saying to me often, especially with spiritual disciplines in the morning, is in Matthew 11. It made me think of verses 28 through 30. And what he says is, he says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I think often in our pursuit sometimes of maybe trying to get a break or a little bit of numb time with social media, it doesn't work that way. And the rest that we're looking for, Jeff, like you said, what am I trying to avoid? The place that I'll actually find that rest is in Jesus. It's in him.
Amen.
So
Amen.